Prime Minister Modi to deliver the keynote address virtually at the UN Economic and Social Council session tomorrow at the UN in New York. The Prime Minister to address the valedictory session along with the Prime Minister of Norway and the United Nations Secretary General. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to visit the forward areas of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh from tomorrow. The Army Chief to accompany the Raksha Mantri. Flood situation grim in Assam and Bihar. 66 people lose their lives and 40 lakh affected in Assam. The flood waters disrupt normal life in many districts of Bihar. Heavy rains also lash Mumbai. The recovery rate from COVID-19 rises to 63.25% in the country. Total 6,12,814 people discharged after treatment. 3,31,146 active cases across the country. Bihar under complete lockdown till the 31st of this month from today. A 7-day also lockdown imposed in Bengaluru. And in sports news, FIFA announces schedule for the 2022 World Cup. The 4 games a day to be played in group stage in Qatar from 21st November 2022. The final will be played on 18th December. Hello and good afternoon. You're watching Doordarshan News with me, Nancy Kohli. A top story: Prime Minister Narendra Modi will deliver a keynote address at this year's high-level segment of the United Nations Economic and Social Council session on Friday at the UN in New York. The Prime Minister will be speaking at the valedictory session along with the Prime Minister of Norway and the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The annual high-level segment convenes a diverse group of high-level representatives from the government, from the private sector, the civil society and academia. The theme of this year's high-level segment is multilateralism after COVID-19. What kind of UN do we need at the 75th anniversary? Set against the changing international environment and the COVID-19 pandemic, this session will focus on the critical forces shaping the course of multilateralism and explore ways to bolster the global agenda through strong leadership, effective international institutions, a broadening of participation and enhanced significance of the global public goods. This will be the first opportunity for Prime Minister Modi to address the broader UN membership since India's overwhelming election as a non-permanent member of the Security Council on the 17th June for the term 2021-22. The theme of the high-level segment of this council on the 75th anniversary of the founding of the UN also resonates with the India Security Council priority, wherein we have called for reform multilateralism in a post-COVID-19 world. It also recalls India's role as the holder of the inaugural presidency. The Prime Minister had earlier delivered the keynote address virtually at the 70th anniversary in January 2016. Moving on now, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh will visit the forward areas of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh on 17th and 18th of this month. The Army Chief General M.M. Narawane will also accompany the minister. During his 2-day visit, the Raksha Mantri will review the security situation in eastern Ladakh. This will be the Defence Minister's first visit to Ladakh since the face-off with China commenced. And India and China have been engaged in discussions through established military and diplomatic channels to address the prevailing situation along the LAC. The commanders from the PLA and the Indian Army held a meeting at Chushul on the Indian side for the 4th round of talks on the 14th of this month. The engagement was consistent with the consensus reached between the special representatives of India and China earlier on the 5th to discuss complete disengagement. The senior commanders reviewed the progress on the implementation of the first phase of disengagement and discussed the further steps to ensure complete disengagement. The two sides also remain committed to the objective of complete disengagement. This process is intricate and requires constant verification. The both sides are taking it forward through regular meetings at diplomatic and military level. And moving on now to update on the flood situation in Assam that still remains grim with 26 districts affected and 3,376 villages under inundated under 93 revenue circles still reeling underwater. And as the flood water has inundated some more areas in the last 24 hours, the number of affected people has gone up to over 36 lakh in the state. Barpet remains the worst hit district with 5,29,879 affected population, followed by Golpara and Morigaon districts with above 4 lakh affected each. According to the Assam State Disaster Management Authority, a total of 36,42,546 people have been affected due to floods in Assam. With 7 more deaths reported as of yesterday, the death toll has gone up to 66 this year due to floods. The water level in the rivers across the state are still above the danger mark. More than 1,27,000 hectares of cropland has also been submerged. In Guwahati, the water in Brahmaputra river is flowing above the danger mark. The rescue and relief operations are being carried out with full strength by the NDRF and the SDRF using 180 boats. Around 4,000 marooned people have been shifted to safer places so far. And the condition in Mumbai, well, that has also been witnessing heavy rain since Tuesday, and the incidents of waterlogging were reported from some parts of the city. As of now, no complaints of waterlogging is registered due to a reduced intensity of rain since yesterday, and the vehicular traffic is normal. The Indian Met Department has issued an orange alert for Mumbai, Thane and Palghar for today, with the forecast of heavy to very heavy rain at the isolated places. High tide has hit the city seas at 9 o'clock in the morning, with the waves measuring 3.43 meters. It has also been advised not to venture close to the sea or in area waterlogged areas. And the flood situation remains grim in some parts of Bihar as well. However, the Met Office has said that the axis of the monsoon's turf line is shifted towards eastern Uttar Pradesh. The adjoining area of western Bihar is now facing the wrath of rain and flood. The Met Office has predicted heavy rain, thunder showers and the lightning incidents in these areas. The flood situation in Darbhanga and West Champaran is still grim, where the people are sheltering over the embankments. Even these embankments are facing threat of erosion, and the boats remain the only mode of transport in the flood-submerged villages. Meanwhile, a complete lockdown has been imposed across Bihar for 16 days to contain the spread of COVID-19. The lockdown will be effective till the 31st. The decision has been taken due to the alarming spike in COVID-19 cases in the state during the last 3 weeks. And all the government offices, public corporations and educational institutions will remain closed in the state during this period. Private and commercial establishments will also remain closed. However, ration shops, dairy and vegetable shops will remain open. And in view of the lockdown, the entry to the Patna High Court complex shall be restricted to very few authorized people. Other persons, including staff, are not required to come to office from today onwards till the 23rd. The order has been issued by the Patna High Court, and the court has further added that the registrar list and the IT will arrange the work of the virtual courts for the cases listed so far during the period of lockdown. The staff has also been asked to keep their mobile phones in a switch-on mode. And during the lockdown period, the court officer will ensure proper sanitization of the entire premises of the court. And let's now go across to our correspondent Salman Haider, who's joining us from Patna. Salman, of course, we have given a sense of how, first let's talk about the flood situation that's been affecting Assam and Bihar. But let's talk about Bihar first, how the entire state has been reeling under the grim impact, the severe impact of the flood. Just give us a sense.
Yeah, actually, the whole state is not reeling under flood, Nancy. Actually, there are some certain areas where flood intensity is much more than other parts.
Okay.
Now, intensity of rain has slackened in almost all the other areas, barring some south central area and the districts adjoining the UP, eastern UP area. A newly constructed road has fully eroded due to force of water in Gopalganj last night. And other areas like Darbhanga, Muzaffarpur, Samastipur are worst affected, and Pune also. So the Kamla Balan River, Kosi, and Mahananda are still above the danger mark at many of the places, and the Met Office has predicted more heavy rains in south central Bihar. Uh, yeah, Nancy.
Okay. And also, Salman, the rescue and relief operation that's being carried out in the flood affected districts is concerned. What can you share with us on that?
As you already said, embankments are eroding very fast, and most of the population of low-lying areas have come up on these embankments, and even these embankments are facing the threat of eroding.
Okay.
Now, the situation is the villages are waterlogged, submerged villages has no road communication at all, and the NDRF teams in overall 12 teams have been deployed there with modern equipment and boats. They are supplying the essential commodities, even and bringing out the people who are needy, who need medical requirement, and even COVID patients are being taken out from the submerged area if there are any. And the situation is like that. The boat is only mode of communication in submerged area. As you know, the whole area is flooded, and
Sure. Okay.
villages have become islands. Yeah,
Okay.
Nancy.
All right. Salman, it's a twin challenge really before the Bihar government there, of course, as far as floods, the impact of floods is concerned, and also, in fact, tackling the COVID-19 pandemic there. And in view of that, Bihar has once again come under lockdown till the 31st of this month. And of course, for these many periods, and of course, many restrictions are also to be followed to adhere to. Just give us a sense of how the lockdown in fact, how the lockdown is really coming into force.
Actually, it is enforced fully in city areas where only grocery, vegetables, milk, and dairy products are available at certain shops in a limited period of time during the day. But in villages, lockdown has been relaxed to some extent because of this flood fury and COVID-19 situation there. Because paddy
Okay.
sowing season is on, and people are coming out for agricultural activities because the season
Sure.
and timing is important, in fact. And but
Okay.
they have been cautioned about social maintaining the social distance and all. In villages there are some relaxation for
All right. Sure.
lockdown. Yeah,
All
Nancy.
right. All right, Salman Haider, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing those inputs. Thanks very much. And moving on now to news just coming in. Congress leader Sachin Pilot and his 18 supporter MLAs have moved Rajasthan High Court against Speaker CP Joshi's disqualification notice, and the case is set for hearing at 3 in the afternoon today. Let's go across now to our correspondent Murari Gupta, who is joining us with more inputs on that. Murari, of course, we are seeing new developments taking place as far as Rajasthan crisis is concerned, and it's not coming to an end really. And now the latest we are learning is that Sachin Pilot has moved High Court against disqualification notice.
जी एनसी अगर बात करें अभी पिछले जब से लगातार चल रहा है मामला राजनीतिक गतिरोध का, तो विधानसभा अध्यक्ष ने और सचिन पायलट सहित लगभग 19 विधायकों को जी नोटिस व्हिप के उल्लंघन का नोटिस दिया था, जिसके खिलाफ आज सचिन पायलट राजस्थान हाई कोर्ट में चले गए हैं। अभी 3 बजे लगभग 1 घंटा बाद सतीश शर्मा की कोर्ट में उनकी सुनवाई होने वाली है। उसके बाद जो उसका जो परिणाम नतीजा निकल के आएगा, उससे बहुत सारी चीजें डिपेंड करती है कि क्या स्थिति विधानसभा में रहने वाली है। नैन्सी।
Okay. All right, Murari Gupta, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing the latest as far as Rajasthan crisis is concerned. And of course, we're getting to know in breaking inputs coming in that Sachin Pilot has moved High Court against disqualification notice. And in fact, the hearing is going to be taking place at 3 in the afternoon today. This is, of course, a new, in fact, development taking place as far as Rajasthan crisis is concerned. Sachin Pilot and, of course, 18 supporter MLAs moving Rajasthan High Court against Speaker C.P. Joshi's disqualification notice, and the case is all set for hearing at 3 in the afternoon today. Remember, Joshi had issued notices after the party had sought their disqualification from the State Assembly. We'll keep a track of developments taking place as far as the crisis brewing, the crisis staring in the face of the Rajasthan government is concerned. But let's move on now to the COVID updates across the country. And in fact, the total number of people who have recovered from COVID-19 has crossed the 6 lakh mark today. According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, a total of 6,12,814 people infected with COVID-19 have recovered across the country so far. And with this, the recovery rate has gone up to 63.25%. In the past 24 hours, a record 20,783 people have recovered. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 3,31,146. The Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan inaugurated the newly built Rajkumari Amrit Kaur OPD in Delhi's AIIMS. The building is dedicated to OPD services and physiotherapy of the elderly people. This will be the first of its kind public sector hospital solely devoted to physiotherapy for the elderly. Each floor of this 9-story building facilitates sitting of over 500 patients. And delivering his keynote address to young doctors on the occasion, Dr. Harshvardhan called for brainstorming in a bid to ameliorate the hospital administration and to solve the menaces apart from the COVID-19 pandemic.
अच्छे क्वालिटी की ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग होनी चाहिए। कैसे जो अभी भी बची हुई तकलीफ़ें हैं, समस्याएं हैं, कुछ इंस्टीट्यूशन की हो सकती है, कुछ डिपार्टमेंट की हो सकती है, कुछ मरीज़ों की हो सकती है, कुछ मरीज़ों के रिश्तेदार की हो सकती है, कुछ जो भी एम्स में आना चाहते हैं लेकिन आ नहीं पा रहे हैं उनकी हो सकती हैं, कुछ वेटिंग लिस्ट से जुड़ी हो सकती हैं, तरह तरह की चीज़ें हो सकती हैं। तो डायग्नोसिस जब हम अगर मरीज़ की कर सकते हैं, उसकी बीमारी की कर सकते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि बाकी जो चीज़ें हैं उनकी डायग्नोसिस के ऊपर भी बहुत गहराई और गंभीरता से चिंतन होना चाहिए।
The Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan also said that doctors must provide ideas to take AIIMS to newer heights.
एम्स का जो लेवल है, इसका जो स्टेटस है, इसकी जो गरिमा है, इसकी जो इज्जत है, उसको और ऊंचाइयों तक पहुंचाने के लिए आप सब व्यक्तिगत तौर पर क्या क्या कंट्रीब्यूशन कर सकते हैं, इसकी एक प्रक्रिया शुरू करिए। आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई है कि एक बहुत स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट जगह पे अब आपको काम करने का मौका मिलेगा।
And exalting the efforts put in by doctors and medics across the nation in tackling COVID-19 pandemic, the Union Health Minister said that India's efforts to curb the spread of the pandemic is showing the positive outcomes.
आज हमारा फैटेलिटी रेट 2.57 हो गया, रिकवरी रेट 63.25 हो गया। रोज़ शाम को हम 7 बजे देखते हैं कि कितने लोग देश में वेंटिलेटर पे थे, ऑक्सीजन पे थे या आईसीयू में थे। तो मैंने देखा शायद कल शाम को, आज सुबह का डाटा है, उसमें सबसे कम लोग जो है वो वेंटिलेटर पर थे या ऑक्सीजन पे थे या आईसीयू में थे।
And taking a look now at the global updates on COVID-19. COVID-19 in fact has claimed the lives of over 5.84 lakh people worldwide, while over 1.35 crore has contracted the infection so far. The US and Brazil remain the worst affected in terms of COVID-19 infections and fatalities. The US has so far recorded over 34.9 lakh cases and over 1.37 lakh deaths, while Brazil has recorded over 19.66 lakh infections and over 75,366 deaths. And talking of death toll worldwide, US and Brazil are followed by the UK with over 45,138 fatalities, further followed by Mexico, Italy and France. The Tunisian Prime Minister has stepped down, plunging the country into a political crisis as it tries to weather the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. He presented his resignation to the president. Sources say that President Said had asked him to do so as momentum grew in parliament to oust the prime minister over an alleged conflict of interest. The collapse of Fakfak's government less than 5 months after it was formed will further delay the urgent economic reforms and complicate efforts to handle any new surge in the COVID-19 cases after Tunisia brought the first wave under control. Now, Twitter accounts, in fact, will be getting you that story in just a bit, but moving on now to some sports news. World Cup fans will be able to watch an unprecedented 4 games a day on television spread out over 11 hours during the group stage of the 2022 FIFA World Cup after the schedule was confirmed on Wednesday. And with the relatively short travel distances for the venues in and around Doha, it could be possible for fans who travel to the 32-team tournament to attend multiple games each day. The tournament's opening game on 21st November will be at the 60,000 capacity Al Bayt Stadium with its distinctive tent-style covering. The final on the 18th December will be held at the 80,000 Lusail Stadium, which will also host a semi-final. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of the news. Thanks for being with us.